Special guest, Colonel Dan Kent, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers for Europe District. How are you doing today, sir?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, of course. So I hear that Engineers Week starts on the 18th. And for those of us who don't know, what is Engineers Week?
Hey, thanks for the chance to talk about this. So, Engineers Week is, in the United States, one of the largest STEM events of the year. It's a time that we celebrate the amazing accomplishments of engineers, technicians, technologists, and really introduce K through 12 students to engineering and technology. And what we're really looking to do is celebrate how engineers make a difference in our world, increase public dialogue about the need for engineers, and then bring engineering to life for kids, educators, and parents.
I love it. Definitely putting that information out there. So how does engineering impact our day-to-day lives?
Engineering and science, technology, engineering, and math, or STEM, are vital to everybody. So engineers play a key role in our buildings, all our forms of transit, think trains, planes, automobiles, our technology, phones, everything we use most of the day. And they ensure everything functions as intended and then are as safe as possible. So I think most people listening, whether they're in an office, buying groceries at the commissary, or driving around in a car, they are in something that engineers were involved in designing and building.
So everything we use pretty much every day has been impacted by engineers. So pretty important job. So why is it so important to encourage the next generation of engineers?
Well, I think a lot of us know that there's a lot of unique and unpredictable challenges in the future. And so you're going to need engineers. And so I think the future is bright, but that's largely based on my trusted engineers. So whether it's the continued safe development of AI, self-driving cars, clean energy, and other ways to mitigate climate change, it's engineers that'll plan, design, and build those things. So getting our kids involved in a career that has STEM is key to creating the best future possible. I think by learning and applying STEM principles, the children of today are the light that brightens our future.
So it could definitely be great opportunities for this next generation. And when we come back, we're going to be talking more with Colonel Kent about some projects that the Army Corps of Engineers are working on here in Europe and Africa. Now we're getting back into the music with Jay Sean with Down. For Engineers Week. Now, sir, here in Europe, what kind of projects does the Corps of Engineers work on here in Europe and Africa? And can you give us some examples?
Yeah, sure thing. I'd love to. So the Europe District mission grows year after year. Right now our team is managing a design and construction program of more than $10 billion in 47 countries. We're partnering with UCOM, with AFRICOM, SOCOM, Army Europe and Africa, Air Force Europe and Africa, Installation Management Command Europe, NODEA, the Defense Health Agency, many more. And really what we're aiming at doing is enabling power projection and operational employment of U.S. allied and partner forces, and then improving quality of life for service members and families stationed overseas. So I think a few examples of that sort of work. Right outside of Ramstein, you'll see the Rhine Ordnance Medical Center. That's underway and getting built. It's a $1.6 billion project to provide a state-of-the-art hospital intended to replace aging facilities at the Lonsdale Regional Medical Center. And then another example is the Operational Readiness Training Center that we're building at Grafenweer. That's again intended to replace aging facilities that we've been using for training since World War II, and to provide a more modern footprint for a full rotational brigade combat team. We've also built A-29 bed-down facilities in Nigeria, bringing a new capability to the Nigerian Air Force. We've built a series of schools, and still building schools for NODEA. All of them are a 21st century design and a vast improvement upon the schools from my days in the classroom, for sure. And then there's significant infrastructure that we're building in support of the European Defense Initiative.
Wow, okay, so y'all sound like y'all are pretty busy over there. So how do your USACE projects impact service members and the communities that they're in?
Yeah, so we do stay very busy, but we're pretty proud of being busy. And I would say that if we look at the impacts, there's really two main lenses. So the first one is operational. We're proud to work with our partners and build a foundation for successful operations in Europe. Ultimately, we're helping set the European theater to deter then if required, fight and win. That's what the operational lens is all about. And the other one is quality of life. Our projects at garrisons and air bases all over Europe deliver on quality of life promises for all personnel and their families stationed overseas. Quality housing, good schools, clinics, and the like are very important to families and the service member morale. So alongside our partners, we're working to make Europe an awesome place to live and work.
Definitely sounds like it, and I think it's much appreciated by all of us here living in the communities because this has an impact on our everyday life. So thank you for what you do.
We love it. Thank you.
Of course. When we come back, we're going to be talking more with Colonel Kent about some jobs offered in engineering here in Europe. Back with Colonel Kent talking for Engineers Week. Sir, jobs in engineer, what kind are there here in Europe with USACE?
Yeah, hey, thanks for that. There's so many kinds of engineers across the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Here in Europe and at the Europe District, the disciplines that the most common ones would be things like civil, environmental, mechanical, electrical, fire protection. That's just to really run through our main engineering disciplines, but we're always looking for talented employees in a range of fields, but always hiring in engineering. And so I think that's kind of a summary of where we're at with that.
All right, so are the engineers with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in Europe all soldiers, civilians? Who can apply? What is this?
Yeah, so we're mostly civilians. At the Europe District, we got about 500 personnel total. There's about 400 Army civilians, about 100 local nationals, and then 14, it can change, right, on any given day, but about 14 soldiers. So we're definitely civilian heavy.
Definitely, yeah.
And then the bulk of our team is at our headquarters in Wiesbaden, but we staff offices in 14 countries and counting. And I say in counting because anytime we start a new project in another country, we're likely to open an office there, supporting various U.S. and international partners in more than 47 countries.
Wow, okay, so definitely civilian heavy. How can those who are interested in engineering opportunities as a civilian or in uniform learn more about some of these opportunities?
That's a great question, and it's different pathways for different folks. So I'll start with, there's always going to be jobs for engineers. For U.S. civilians, I think there's a couple of ways. The best way would be to keep an eye on USA jobs. As we talked about, we've got offices in multiple countries. So if you set the search to Europe, you can see all the opportunities that are out there on the continent. And then another way is, our social media sites. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on X. All of those, there are times we'll post some of the more exciting, more critical jobs on social media, but they're always all on USA Jobs as well. And then the path for local nationals is a little bit different, but they're about 20% of our workforce, and we couldn't do what we do without those teammates. They're from places that include Germany, Belgium, the Netherlands, Italy, Romania, and Georgia. And, all of those positions are on the U.S. Army Local National page that's on the U.S. Army Europe and Africa website. Sometimes that website can be challenging to navigate. So if there's any questions, certainly reach out to our team and we can help with that. But we're definitely interested in helping local nationals find careers with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And then lastly, for soldiers, if you're interested in being an engineer in uniform, I think go for it. Be all you can be. There is, I think, nothing better than being an Army engineer. There's two paths to being a uniformed engineer. So one is, the officer route where you typically go to college, and then work to get commissioned as an engineer officer. And to help with that, you will want to focus on a STEM degree, and then have competitive grades. And then the other path would be to enlist in the U.S. Army. Also a great pathway to get some great education and training. I would recommend that the first step there would be to talk to a local recruiter to find out more.
Right.
And, for any listeners that may still be in school, be sure to focus on your math and science and ensure you take advantage of any of these opportunities.
because it does sound like such amazing opportunities, and you're right, being an engineer in the Army does sound kind of cool. Even if I'm in the Air Force, I love my job, but being an engineer in the Army would be my second choice. Pretty cool. So when we come back, we're going to be talking more with Colonel Kent about what happens with STEM here in Europe. Colonel Kent talking for Engineers Week. Now, sir, a big thing right now is STEM. So how does the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers promote STEM here in Europe?
So the U.S. Army and Corps of Engineers takes STEM outreach really seriously because it's an investment in our ability to deliver for years to come. DoDEA is committed to STEM education here in Europe, and we have a great relationship with our DoDEA partners and love getting into schools and engaging directly with students. You know, this past December, we participated in DoDEA Europe's amazing symposium event that brought STEM students from all DoDEA high schools here to Wiesbaden for a week-long event. That was fantastic. Our team had a great time. You know, certainly seeing the students had a great time. And then for Engineers Week this year, we're planning to do engagements in several schools, including the Wiesbaden, Grafenwehr, Stuttgart, and Vicenza middle schools. And then we also work with DoDEA and U.S. Army Europe and Africa and other organizations to sponsor interns or host students to get more real-world hands-on experience. And in fact, right now we've got 2 seniors from the Wiesbaden High School who come spend time with us every week in the offices, shadowing and participating with our professionals, and then they're doing that throughout the school year.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. They get to see the real-life look of how it's used. It's pretty amazing. So what would you say to any potential future engineers or students considering STEM careers that might be listening?
Yeah, I would say whether it's with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, as a soldier, a service member in a different service, or in the private sector, it's important to understand there will always be jobs, always like a need from the community, from the world for engineers. Like, I can't emphasize that enough. I think it's absolutely a great path to pursue.
All right, thank you, sir. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Yeah, I would just like to thank you and the team at AFN for making time for us. I'm grateful for the opportunity to get the word out about Engineers Week and then tell the Europe District story. So thank you, and go Chiefs.
Absolutely. Thank you. I am glad that we get to highlight your job because, again, y'all are so busy, y'all are working so hard, and everything y'all do has an impact on all of us here in the community. So we do appreciate, and we're happy to give this highlight. Again, that was Colonel Dan Kent, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers for Europe District, and you're listening to the Joint Force on AFN.